Welcome, everybody. Mike Martinez, and today I want to introduce to you a training series that I'm putting together so that we could kind of glimpse into the minds of the top producers in our company. Because I believe, when you have the right mentors and you have the right mindset and you emulate the people that are getting the results done, then you start producing the results yourself. So the series, the training series, is called Masters Mindset Training. And today I got the pleasure and honor to interview an icon in the metro business, a gentleman that not only was there as a founder in the beginning, and what's important about that, right? If you don't really think about it, you might miss it. But what's important about that is the fact that he's gone. When he started, we have none of the things that we have in place now. We'll talk about in the interview, we'll talk about technology and how it has helped us. But back in the days when the company was just formulating, that's when you go through the ups and downs and you have the issues and the real hardcore people, the people that can think themselves through the hard times and find the solutions and overcome the problems. Those are the ones that succeed. And so, again, today I have the pleasure and honor of interviewing one of the founders, but not only a founder, but one of the people that leads one of the largest organizations in the company, a strong organization based with leaders, some of the top producers in the company. And so, again, the way you succeed is stand in the shoulders of giants and see how they think and act the way they do. Success leaves clues. And so this is my attempt at following or getting into the mind of one of those leaders. And this person, I'm extremely honored to interview him. And I consider him a great friend and a mentor of mine, Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike, we know him, but it's Michael Capelli, which is his official name, but we all know and love him as Dr. Mike. So, Dr. Mike, thank you for joining us, and I truly appreciate your time here.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be on, hear what you got coming to me, and with that introduction, I want to hear myself speak.
I hear you. Well, for those that are not familiar with the story or people that have just joined our organization, Dr. Mike was a medical professional that because of the changes in HMO, and if I'm wrong, Dr. Mike, you could always interrupt me and correct that, but because of the changes in HMO, right, said, you know what, I am going to do something else. And he went from a medical professional to a professional in the public adjusting arena. So here's my question to begin with. Did you find it difficult transitioning? And when you were transitioning, what skills did you need to develop in order to make the public adjusting business successful?
Well, that's a very good question, because I was worried about that in the beginning. Could I make what I would call a clean transition into public adjusting? What I had known is that we were basically fighting the same battle, because every day I was battling with health insurance companies trying to get paid, and as a public adjuster, you were battling with property insurance companies trying to get paid. So it was very similar type of thing. The adjusters are the same, trying to get them to pay you properly for what you did. Unfortunately, for the medical profession, they're trying to cut you weeks or months after you've already done the service. At least in public adjusting, for the most part, the service has not been performed yet. And I'm talking about contractor services to rebuild a damaged property. But I tell people I was stupid in the beginning. And the reason why I tell people I was stupid, because I knew that I had to find my own clientele, that was the fastest way to do it. So I started talking to people right out of the box. I first started talking to family members and close friends, and I basically did presentations over the phone while I was waiting for my license to come. I got both my New Jersey and Pennsylvania license within about 3 weeks. And during that 3 week period of time while I was waiting, I talked to my sisters, my brother, other family members, people that I knew, and talking about how public adjusters could help them, but also asking them if they were interested in becoming a public adjuster. And a couple of them were.
Okay, so interesting that you say that. Now, what you're saying to me, if I'm getting it right, is that you were starting to develop your marketing skills, something I guess that you were doing as a medical professional, right? But
Yes.
just learning how to share the message.
Right. And it's pretty simple. The message is simple, and it's never really changed. And that you need to get a professional on your side when you're dealing with an insurance company to make sure two things are happening. One, you're being treated fairly, but more importantly, that you're being paid fairly.
Right. Okay. Now, as you know, over the last 8 months, because of the great changes that 2020 has seen, we've transitioned into, first of all, public adjusters is an essential business. But even though it's an essential business, we've seen a lot of the conventional ways that we were doing business before. And I got to give Steve McCaffrey a lot of credit, because slowly, even before the corona hit, he was already transitioning us, into using Zoom more and other things, right? So we were picking up technology. Now, how do you find the technology or that push for us to make that change? Do you see it as a positive? And do you see it that most people are picking it up, or what do you see?
Well, it's definitely a positive. Unfortunately, a lot of people are still resisting it. It's a positive, and I'll give you a short story. Soon after we started using DocuSign, normally what you would have to do is you'd have to fill out the contracts and the paperwork, and you'd have to send it to the people and then talk them through what they need to sign, and they would have to upload it back and send it back to you so you could send it into the company. Now it's easy as pie. I put in their name, I put in their address, some of their insurance information, and boom, it flies off to them. They sign it, and boom, it goes right to corporate, and it's ready to go. Right when we started, I had a friend who lived in Pennsylvania call and say, "Hey, we got we have a problem there. We had a roof leak, and for whatever reason, even though I have a Pennsylvania license, it was like 8 o'clock at night, and I didn't have a Pennsylvania contract in my DocuSign. I called Steve, and within 5 minutes, there was a Pennsylvania contract in my DocuSign, and by 8:20, they had signed it, and it was sitting there waiting for corporate to accept it. So that's a great thing. So take that. I'm in Florida, right? So 1,100 miles away, I'm able to write a claim because I have a license. So if you have a license anywhere, you can write a claim using DocuSign and using Rapid Funnel, which again, I think people are underutilizing it. I can send out video to people so they can see a property coverage review, or send out a video to somebody where they're interested in doing the business. And while I'm not doing big presentations anymore, it's a lot less stressful to do it that way, I think. And so while I don't do, the business that Jay Gillette's doing, like, 1 million claims a month and recruiting 3 million people, I'm there. I'm recruiting a few people a month. I'm writing a few claims a month, and it's enjoyable, and it's very less stressful than it used to be.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing, man. And I'm glad you brought up Jay Gillette, because Jay is in your organization. So he's an animal. He's a bulldog. He's one of the people I hope to interview soon too. But with that said, we both know about the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule. And what that says, for those that are not familiar with that, 80% of your production or your sales or the money you generate, whichever way you look at it, is going to come from 20% of your staff. Do you see that with your team?
Absolutely. I have a number of executive vice presidents, a lot of regional managers, but by far, regular reps out there make up the biggest part of the organization, and it always seems to be the couple of people, the Jim and Karen Wilsons and the Jay Gillettes and Michael Sergios. It seems to be that those are the people that are writing claims all the time. Everybody helps, but it seems that those people are the ones that are doing it the most, and by far a vast majority of the income that I make comes from those people.
Yeah. And you know what, guys, just for those of you that are looking at this, when I approached Dr. Mike about doing this interview, I said, do you want me to send you the questions I'm going to ask you? And he said, no. So there's no rehearsing here. I'm just, giving him the questions fresh, cold, and he's answering them perfectly. So in that context of the 80-20 rule, is there a filter in your mind when you say, okay, I'm looking to recruit this person to kind of fill in the 20 percenters that I'm looking for? Or are you just recruiting, going out there and recruiting, and then finding a way to identify those 20%?
Well, that's a very good question. And so a couple things about me. I'm tough in the sense that if you tell me you want to do something, I actually believe you that you actually want to do it. And so I work toward that goal that we have when you tell me that. A few things I found over the years, unfortunately, not everybody means what they say. That's unfortunate. You might think that, oh, Michael, you better hire 19,000 more adjusters because you're going to need it when I start. I'm just happy if they've scheduled their examination. Now, I really have no expectation of who I hire for 3 to 6 months because it takes that long to get used to a job. And I'm not saying they're not making money for 6 months. What I'm saying is it takes people that long to get used to it. Even if you had a regular job, if you worked at a McDonald's, okay, it would take you a number of weeks, a number of months to really start to learn how your job is and what you have to do, what each job entails, who's better to work with, that type of thing. Or if you were an accountant and you were working in a large company, it takes time for people to become acclimated in what to do. So I let them do that as I guide them, but I have no expectation of what people do. I think it's a protective measure for me. That way I don't get agitated if somebody doesn't do anything. But,
okay.
I make jokes, and Mike, I've heard that. You've heard this from me before. I say, I hope you're sitting down because I got something to tell you about people in general. And you say, yeah, and I say, people lie. And you start laughing because obviously everybody knows people lie, except for they don't think people lie when they're talking to them about our business. And our business is the people lie about occasionally, 9 times out of 10, if people have a claim, they'll use you. But that 1 time out of 10, they're not going to under any circumstances, whether they tell you yes, they are or not. You have to understand that. Okay, 9 out of 10 90% is a great thing. Okay, and when you're recruiting people, 20% out of the people that say they want to do this will actually do it. The other 80% won't for whatever reason. And sometimes the reason is just that they say yes to you because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But the other time is, something happens. They look at you and they say, that person has a mustache and I could never work with a person that has a mustache, whatever ridiculous thing is. So this is what I do. I boil it down real simple for everybody. I can't control what other people do. I can only control what I do. So when it comes time to write claims and recruit people, I can control how many people I invite. I can't control whether or not they're going to do something. I can control how many appointments I have each week. I cannot control whether or not the person has a claim. So if I want to do more claims, I make more appointments. If I want to recruit more people, I try to get more people interested. It's really that simple, and then I move from there.
Okay, very good. Now, with that said, and I just want to clarify that, with that said, do you have a specific training regimen that everybody goes through, or do you individualize it for particular people?
No, it's the same thing for everybody, because I'm stupid and I think it's easier for me to remember. People have to do 3 things each week. So now with everything being online, they have to attend the Monday night conference call and the Tuesday night training. I don't care if they go to Wednesday night or if they do Thursday night. I just tell,
Hey,
I don't
Wednesday
give,
night is mine, all right?
well, not that you do anything wrong. It's just that that's what I say to people,
I know,
just to
I'm
be
joking
clear.
with you.
Okay. If I said you pick whatever ones you want, people would never make a pick. So I don't mind if people go to Wednesdays. I don't mind if they go to Thursdays. We actually have one on Sundays. I don't mind if they do that, but they had to do 2. That's the one thing. That's the training. Okay. Number 2 is that to study for their exam if the state requires an exam. Unfortunately, for a lot of you people, you don't live in Ohio. Ohio doesn't require an exam. Okay. So you don't have to take one, but they have to study. And then number 3 is we have to do at least 1 training appointment a week. Everybody has to do that. If they're not doing it, they're falling behind. I don't buy into it takes 4 months or 3 months for people to do this. If it's taking you that long, I'm doing something wrong. Okay. It should only take 30 days in order for everybody to be trained. If not, something else is happening that we have to address and move forward. But the 3 things, training, studying for the exam, and at least 1 training appointment, everybody does.
Very good, man. Very good. You know, if I stop right here, I think a lot of people would get some good information, but I'm not stopping here. So here's my next question. Let's say you go out there and you have a good month recruiting. Let's just say you recruited 4 or 5 people, right? And you find a 20%er there. This person is doing the training claims every week and is in the meetings and is calling you and is asking for advice. And you could tell this person's got certain things, right? Do you continue recruiting strong, or do you slow that down and focus your attention on developing that 20%er?
Well, so this is what I do. I keep going because I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I've had 2 EVPs pass away in my 22 years being a Metro rep. It's unfortunate, but things like that happen. So I don't slow down. I don't say, I'm putting all my money on Mike Martinez. I'm looking for other people to build the team. That's number 1. But I do pay more attention to the person. One thing I did do over the last 6 months that I would always recommend, but wasn't really following 100%, is this time I do a weekly follow-up with everybody. So if you're engaged and you're moving through the system, we're talking each week. We're talking about those 3 things. Did you attend the trainings? Have you been studying for your exam? Did we do an appointment, a training appointment this week? Just to make sure people are continuing to move forward. Excuse me. And I find that very helpful, the weekly follow-up. In fact, if you go to my calendar, you'll see I have a 15-minute weekly follow-up meeting that's for people to use to do that. And actually, I already did one right before this. I did 2 yesterday, and I have another one at 1 o'clock that I'm doing. So even though I probably recruited 10 or 15 people in the last month and a half, only about 6 of them are continuing to be active.
Okay. Now, I asked you before if prior to recruiting, you're looking for specific people, which you said no, right? I'm just looking to gather the people, and as they come in, and I give them the assignments, and they do whatever, and that identifies them as a 20% or not, right? Any particular characteristic or qualities that you say this person is a 20%er?
So I was fortunate enough to be in a company called Prime America way back in A.L. Williams, way back in the 80s, okay? And Art Williams said they have not come up with a test to measure the heart or character of a man. And of course, that means women also. And so I was lucky enough to realize that what he meant by that was that you just can't tell who the people are. Like, I'll give you a for instance, it's kind of funny. Karen Wilson, okay? She was invited to come to a presentation, and right after the presentation, she goes, "I love it, but I don't think it's for me, but my husband would be great at it." And she brought Jim into it. Now, she stayed with it, but, at first I thought she wasn't going to do it. But she knew that her husband needed something and could do things that maybe she couldn't do. And she's wonderful and she's excellent, okay? But I think that she saw it more for him than she saw for herself. And that's why I'm saying is you just don't know, and you shouldn't try to measure it, but you should follow those three things every week to see that the people continue to do it.
Okay. That's a great answer, by the way.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this. What are the biggest mistakes you see that recruiters are doing in the organization right now?
One is probably the biggest one is follow-up. They're not following up with people. You just said a few minutes ago, you said recruiting 3, 4, 5 people a month, and that's an excellent job. You are right. That is an excellent job. Okay. And I tell Steve this all the time when we have our talks. Recruiting 2 or 3 or 4 people a month is an excellent job. Okay. And you got to stay up with those people. I think what happens is some people do 10 or 15, or you see it up there and you say to yourself, well, how can they follow up and follow through with, right, with 10 or 15 or even 20 people? Well, you know something? You work with the willing. So if there are, I'm sure when you first joined, you were bothering the hell out of Art. Art, hello, right. Art, what about this? Hello, Art, what about that? Hello, Art, what about this? And I bet you other people that got hired during the same time you did weren't like that. So you work with the willing, and you try your best to keep everybody else engaged, but you work with the willing.
Yeah. So in part, your answer there is that maybe recruiting, you got to limit it to a certain amount of people, because with too much recruiting, then you're not going to be able to follow up properly. Is that correct?
Unless you have a great system. You have to have a great system. And I don't know of many people, one thing we're missing in Metro, and they're missing everywhere, it's not just Metro, is an automated system to help you follow up that's personable. Like I had a delivery that was misdirected by Amazon. So I said, hey, where's my delivery? And I used the app, and it sent me this AI message right back. Did you check around the area to see if your thing was there? And I knew it was AI, but it was written so well, I wasn't really 100% positive. When I responded, though, to the AI email, that's where the difference came, where a real person actually answered it. So if we could have a system like that, we don't have the billions of dollars that Amazon has for computer science, but if we had something like that, that would be great to help us be better at dealing with people on a larger scale.
Okay. Last question, Dr. Mike. I know you're a busy guy, and you've given me a wealth of information, and whoever's seen this, I'm sure is going to take a lot of good out of it. But last question. If you were with your personal organization, what 2 skills would you like to instill or help the person develop in order to be a leader in this company? What 2 skills that you see that are absolutely imperative to leadership here?
So I think, looking across the board at people in general, people don't concentrate enough on what they're doing at that time. They're too involved with, trying to see who texted them or what the latest spam email is in their inbox and things like that. Instead of taking, literally even an hour, if you took an hour and you really focused it on your Metro business, like focused an hour on making an appointment. You could make an appointment. Well, Mike, I don't know how to. If you took an hour and you focused it, okay, and you concentrated on it, yes, you could, even without any information, okay? Well, Mike, I want to recruit. I don't know how to recruit. If you took an hour and you concentrated on recruiting, even if you knew nothing, you could probably recruit somebody, okay? I'm not saying take 10 hours. I'm saying one hour, and then move forward. People don't do that. And number two is don't quit. I don't know how long it's going to take somebody. I told you it took me 3 weeks to get 2 licenses. Well, hey, guess what? It might take somebody 3 months. And just because I said I don't want people to take 3 months doesn't mean that it happens that way all the time. But if the people aren't quitting and they're still moving forward, great. Let's keep them moving forward and don't quit. And those two things, why everybody, the wind blows from the north and, 2 people quit, the restaurant doesn't have the special that the person wanted today and they quit, or whatever. Steve McCaffrey said that he voted for so-and-so and people don't like it and they quit. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with you and working hard and staying focused so you can get things done.
Yeah. I said just now this was going to be the last question, but I just got one and I have to discuss it with you. I'd like to for you to share your ideas. This will be the last one guaranteed. Sorry about that. Many people in organizations say, I would do better if my sponsor was helping me more, if they took me by the hand, if they taught me, if they did this. A lot of people have sponsors that really, some of them quit, right? Right after they sponsor somebody, you don't see them again. So and I know you and I have spoken about this in the past on a one-on-one conversation, and you had, a lot of good information on that. What would you tell somebody that feels that way? Hey, you know what? I'm not getting any support from my sponsor. I want to do the business, but they're holding on to the sponsor is not supporting me excuse. What would you say to a person like that?
So that's funny because a lot of people don't realize, but my sponsor was Steve McCaffrey. And everybody goes, wow, he's the president of the company. If I had him as a sponsor, I could be a senior vice president like Dr. Mike is. And I laugh. If you look at your screen, you can see me smiling real big and laughing at the same time. You could probably hear me laughing. And because Steve, in the beginning, I lived in a place called Long Branch, New Jersey, and the headquarters is in Bensalem. And if nobody knows that, Long Branch, New Jersey is 71 miles from the corporate office. And I said to Steve, Steve, I need you to come out there and help me. And he said, Mike, I'll do whatever I can for you, but I cannot come out and help you. He goes, I just can't do it. I'm too busy. You're going to have to find something else. So quite literally, he wasn't the person that trained me. It was a guy named Mike Woodford that I knew prior to Metro through Steve. And he came out and he helped train me. But his training was something like, Mike, I'm coming out on Tuesday, set up 5 claims for me. So I didn't know any better, so that's what I did. All right. But hey, everybody has a regional manager. Everybody has an executive vice president, and that's who you should reach out to. If you don't know who it is, you can reach out to myquestion@metropa.com and say, hey, who's my regional manager and who's my executive vice president? And they'll get back with you with that information and reach out to them. Because, not everybody gets along with everybody. You know, I know you're going to find it hard to believe that there are some people out there that don't like me. And I know, Mike, you're saying, how can
No.
that be, Dr.
How
Mike?
could that
There are
be?
people out there that don't like you. I know. It's amazing, right? But there are other people in the organization that that you might be able to get along with better. And I'm okay with that. You know, it's just, sometimes it's a personality thing, sometimes, you know, whatever. But don't use it as an excuse. Use it as a way to get where you need to be. So that's what I would recommend. Everybody has a regional manager. Everybody has an executive vice president to go to.
Very good. Dr. Mike, I truly, truly appreciate you taking your time and spending it with me and giving me these great answers to these questions. Again, you know, we didn't rehearse this, so everything came from the heart, and that's a beautiful thing. So I truly, truly appreciate you doing what you did, man. I can't thank you enough. I'm sure everybody's going to get a lot of good information here. And look forward to shaking your hand the next time we actually meet in person. And if you have any closing statements, I take them now, man.
Well, I want to thank you. You're one of the leaders in this company when it comes to putting stuff online, putting videos together. You've been doing it for a number of years. You were actually the person who helped produce the PCR videos and the PBR videos. You're the person that spearheaded that for the company. I'm grateful that you did that, and everybody else should be too.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you taking the time to interview me, and I'm humbled. And if somebody has you as an upline, they're in a good place right now. So, Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. We'll be
All right,
speaking soon, man.
All right, take care.